Do you know who you are? Over the past 12 years, I've had the privilege and the honor of spending more than 2,500 hours answering phones on a suicide hotline. People say, "Isn't that depressing work?" I say, "Are you kidding me?" I get to spend moments in people's lives when they go from wanting to end them to reaffirming why they want to live. Can you imagine work that's more life-affirming than that? Marianne Williamson, more than 20 years ago, said, "Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." How many of us have that in our story of who we are? Powerful beyond measure. I struggle to find it in mine. On August 11th of 2014, we all woke up to the heartbreaking news that Robin Williams had decided to end his own life. I mean, I don't know much about Robin and his life, but I do know, I read an interview with him many years ago in which at one point he said, "I believe that someday somebody will tap me on the shoulder and say, 'Guess what, Robin? You're not funny.'" If you can believe that Robin Williams saw in himself the story that he wasn't funny. So if Robin Williams, all of us would say he was powerful beyond measure. But if he couldn't see it in his life, what hope is there for the rest of us to see powerful beyond measure? I'll tell you. Talking to a young man some time ago, as he recounted with me the horrific pain that he felt around some of the horrible things that he felt that he had done in his life. And we had talked for maybe 45 minutes about his pain, and pretty soon he pauses and he says to me, "Do you think the pain that I'm feeling is my heart trying to find its way back into the world?" Powerful beyond measure in that moment. I could do nothing but be in awe of this extraordinary wisdom coming from this young man. So where do we find powerful beyond measure in our story? Well, I can tell you where we don't find it, and that's up here in the brain. This is an incredibly complex, maybe the most complex thing that we know in the universe, but it's not perfect. And one of the places it's not perfect is telling us the story of the world. Favorite example, Kinesis Triangle. I show this to people and I say, okay, blue triangle or white triangle. How many people think the white triangle is larger? And a few hands will go up in the audience. And then I say, how many people think the blue triangle is larger? And then people are saying, oh, there's a trick here. I know what this is. I say, so how many people think the triangles are the same size? And most of the hands go up. And then I say, but you're right, there is a trick here, because there are no triangles in that picture. There are 6 independent blue shapes, and your brain makes up the rest. Pattern making. It's an incredibly powerful, valuable, important skill for the brain. If you're in the woods and you hear rustling behind the bushes, you really want to be able to complete that pattern and take appropriate action. Your life may depend upon it. That's the good part of pattern making. At its perverse end, at the other end, we often refer to pattern making as prejudice. You see somebody across the room and their skin is a different color, they're a different age, or their hair is purple, and we make up some pattern about their life that probably isn't correct. Or how many of us have seen 3 words on the bumper sticker of a car and immediately made up the entire life story of the person behind the wheel? Guilty as charged. Sorry, Your Honor. But the other thing that Kinesis Triangle points out is once you see those patterns, how easy is it to see those 6 shapes as independent? It becomes very difficult. So the human brain makes up patterns that may or may not be real, and once it does, it makes it hard to see what's truly there. We make up biased stories about other people in the world. What makes us think we don't make up biased stories about ourselves? We do. So pattern making makes it difficult for us to see, I think, who we are in the world. Let's talk about memory. All of us think our memory is like a DVD or a Blu-ray. After the Challenger disaster, many of you remember that, but this has been repeated over other flashbulb moments in our history. After the Challenger disaster, psychologists found people and said immediately afterwards, write down for us in your own handwriting what happened, who you were with, what was the sequence of events. They found those people 3 years later. The results? Stunning. Only 7% of people got their story correct 3 years later. 50% of people had 2/3 of their assertions wrong. 25% of people, not even close. And yet if I asked all of you, nearly 100% of us believe we're in that 7% that gets it 100% correct, and we're not. So memories, and so often memories of our childhood and our past define some way who we are in this world. And I would ask you to think about two things. First of all, your memory is likely not correct. And secondly, memories are just small little points, even though they could be horrific and very painful. They're small points on the arc of a life which is likely much more brilliant and wonderful. But those memories that stick with us, that help us define who we are, and they don't. One last example. If I gave each of you a piece of paper and asked you to write down the average height of the sequoias in California, you'd each give me a number. We could collect all those, plot them, and get some kind of a curve, perhaps even a normal curve. But I could change all of your responses. If I divide the audience in half, and on this half, at the top of your paper it said, sequoias are less than 1,000 feet. How tall is the average? And on this half over here, your paper said sequoias are more than 100 feet. How tall is the average? It's called anchoring. I've anchored you at 1,000 feet and you at 100 feet. Many people on this side of the room would start at 1,000 feet and work down, and many people at this side of the room would start at 100 feet and work up. And we'd get two different curves on both sides of the room. It's called anchoring. In the story of your life, maybe it doesn't matter whether you're anchored or on the height of some tree in California. What if your anchor is I'm worthless? I'll never amount to anything. I'm lazy, I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm ugly, pick one. And that becomes an integral part of the story of who you are. And it keeps us so small. So patterning, image, or memory, and anchoring all keep our brain sort of locked into some story of who we are that's probably not correct. I met my wife 36 years ago at the Sloan School of Management at MIT. I still refer to it as the most expensive dating service in the world. Don't even talk to me about eHarmony. On the day we were married 33 years ago, I said to all of the guests, I said, you know, the fact that she chose me and that I chose her proves I have much better taste than she does. I tell that story in jest, but how many times over the 33 years of our marriage, and the patterns, the anchoring, and the memory, remind me of stories when I wasn't the husband that I hoped that I could be, or the father that I knew I wanted to be. How many times over those 33 years have I thought, on that day, could she have chosen much better? So where do we look for the story of who we are if this leaves us short up here? A Jesuit priest by the name of Pierre Teilhard de Chardin many years ago wrote, we are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. I wonder if Teilhard were alive today, would he be saddened to know that in spite of our advances in our technology, or maybe because of them, we've literally ripped the spiritual out of most of the moments of our lives. There is a word in India, a powerful word. Many of you have heard it. The word is Namaste. It is, by the way, can be used in places other than yoga class. Namaste is often interpreted as the holy in me is witness to the holy in you. Do we see the holy in us and allow it to be witness to the holy in others? I'll tell you where I see it in others. In those moments when I'm talking to someone who is in the most desperate moments of their lives, pain beyond measure. And in those moments, only what's essential to them is important anymore. And I will use that opportunity to ask them, would you tell me something wonderful about you? Would you tell me why you want to live? And from some still point of holiness and wisdom inside, they will say to me, I care so much about other people. In spite of a life of giving and being bone weary, I have so much left to give. Or a young father or mother will say, I love my children more than life itself. Powerful beyond measure. How about in ourselves? When life rips us open, and it is the nature of life to rip us open during our lifetime, and our heart gets ripped open. Do we allow our heart to be ripped open and find within ourselves that still point of holiness and wisdom and live it into the world? Please don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. I, as well as anyone, understand the horrors of mental illness and the need for medications. But how often do we, when life rips us open and we are heartbroken, reach for a bottle, a drug, or a prescription? Because maybe, just maybe, we've forgotten how to reach out for one another. There's a tale from the Hasidic tradition. The disciple asks the Rebbe, he says, why does the Torah tell us to write these words on our heart? Why doesn't it tell us to write these holy words in our heart? And the Rebbe replies, because as we are, our hearts are closed. So we cannot write these holy words in our heart. So we write them on our heart, and there they stay. Until one day our heart breaks and the words fall in. Many of us allow our moments of heartbreak and sadness and disappointment to simply tear us open. Allow those holy words to fall in. Find that still point of holiness and wisdom within and live it into the world. In those occasional moments when I allow myself to see that holiness and wisdom in me, in those moments, I think that maybe 33 years ago, Judi chose okay. You can see her at the break. She may tell you the jury is still out. One last story I would like to tell you about, powerful beyond measure. And it happened in this room, right back there, just 2 weeks ago. We were practicing for today, and I had shared my remarks. And this graduate student from India came to me and said, could I share with you a thought about your remarks? And I said, please. He said, in my country in India, when we use the word namaste, it means the God in me sees the God in you. We always press our hands together, bow, and pause so that we can let God flow. Powerful words that he wrote on my heart. Because I truly believe that he was saying, I see the God in you. Could you see it too? And when you're on that stage, let it flow. But I will tell you this, it was the look on his face, the kindness, the generosity, the caring, the love that I saw on his face melted my heart. It broke open and his words fell in. So if we're looking for who we are in this world, do we know who we are? I think we don't. And if we're looking for it up here, we're about 12 inches too high. The word courage and the word heart both come from the Latin word cor. It takes courage to be in life, when life rips us open, to find that still point of holiness, to find that God within and let it flow into the world. But when we do, we show up in the world as we are, not as who we think we are. And in those moments, those unpredictable, unknowable, unplannable moments, when we show up as we are, we fundamentally change the future. We reweave the fabric of the university. And in those moments, we are powerful beyond measure. Namaste.